favors, and I think the infiltration of Russian influence through this kind of clandestine operations was never as powerful, even at the probably height of the years of Comintern.
All right. So we're getting lots of questions. Let's take two on this side, and then we'll take two on that side.
Well, I was going to ask another question, but I think I'll follow up on that one. The United States has not just interfered in Russia, it's been interfering in the inner affairs of countries around the world for decades, going back at least to the overthrow of the democratic government of Mossadegh in Iran, the next year Arbenz in Guatemala, multiple attempts to assassinate Castro, assassination by Allende.
What's the question? We got a lot of people.
So yeah, you're right, we can go on all night about United States interference in other countries' affairs. So what's the real problem here? Is it that one country allegedly interferes in another country's elections or inner domestic affairs, or is it that one country interferes in American domestic electoral affairs?
So it sounds like the premise of your question, though, is that electoral interference in another country's elections is a bad thing, right?
No, my question is double standards, hypocrisy, and can one nation that's always interfering in another country's inner affairs criticize when they themselves are interfered with allegedly? I will stress the allegedly.
Okay.
In other words, what goes around comes around, doesn't it?
Okay, next question on this side, please, because we're going to do two at a time.
So,
Is it left unanswered?
No, you guys have time to answer both this question and the next one, just because we won't hear all the questions. That's the idea, anyway.
okay, so working under the premise that Putin is a domestic and global problem, I find that waiting for Putin's death is an unsatisfying solution, and I find that prying away the oligarchs is an insufficient solution. So how does the civil society in Russia and the Russian people, how do they move forward in the presence and absence of Putin?
So you could take both questions.
Yeah, first of all, I strongly reject, denounce any moral equivalence between the free world and communist dictatorships. It's appalling to hear the statements from people who grew up in the free world and they don't know what is KGB, or maybe know from the books. One of the reasons I never criticized American invasion of Iraq, which I think was a mistake, but I believe it's for me, it was impossible since it toppled a dictator. As someone who grew up in the Soviet Union, in the communist dictatorship, I couldn't criticize any action that led to the end of dictatorship, though understanding that many bad things could happen afterwards, but still, there's always choice of a lesser evil. And talking about this is American interference in other countries in the world, we can open a big debate. But let me tell you one thing. When you look at the political map 40 years ago, just look again, have a hard look, and you find out that every so-called right-wing dictatorship, whether it's Chile, Colombia, Spain, Portugal, Taiwan, South Korea, has been peacefully, South Africa, transformed into market economy and democracy. Not a single communist dictatorship has been peacefully transformed in a market economy and democracy. People are still suffering there. So that's why I think it's just the whole idea of just, we can compare Putin's actions or Saddam Hussein's actions with actions of US presidents. For me, it's preposterous.
I'll answer the other question.